I appreciate that Mr. Maxwell gave it the old college try in including black Confederates, but I really disagree with how they were used and what message it conveys. Jim Lewis is a cool character, Frankie Faison is a good actor, and this supporting character is relevant to developing the main character of Stonewall Jackson the movie. But this fictional version of Jim isn't used honestly. The movie is vague about his legal status, but the first few times I watched it, I got the impression that Jim Lewis enlisted in the Confederate Army as a cook, and the interwebs have proven that I'm not alone there. The real Jim Lewis did often cook in the camp, but he only cooked for General Jackson because Lewis was his body servant. He was neither a soldier nor one of the many black enlisted cooks or musicians. He was hired out to the general by his owner, W.C. Lewis, who also lived in Lexington, like the general. We don't see Jackson paying W.C. Lewis for use of his slave. We just see Jim in a job interview talking about wanting to do his share in the war. I also don't dig how his moral challenge of slavery during prayer segues into, hey, they're talking in the camp about black Confederate soldiers. No, not in the Army of Northern Virginia in 1862 they're not. In the Army of Tennessee, maybe, for 5 minutes, before that talk was squashed by Bragg, and squashed again by Jeff Davis. The other black Confederate in the movie is an unnecessary character. We already have a body servant in Jim, so we don't even get to see a variety of jobs in combat zones available to black Southerners. It would have been way cooler if they'd at least made this guy a drummer who's war-weary and struggling over whether to desert or not. This guy doesn't pass along critical intel, doesn't save anyone important, doesn't kill anyone important, doesn't make any main characters into morally complicated men. He doesn't even have a name. He just exists to tell the audience that his Confederate owner freed him and now pays him wages. That was true in a lot of cases, but overwhelmingly most body servants were slaves, even if their employer was not their owner. Most of the time their owners collected their wages, and most of these slaves were not freed until the late spring of 1865. Jeff Shara didn't write this character, Ron Maxwell did.